And we're back.
Yay.
So this is going to be part 2. This is going to be a bit shorter, a bit of a shorter episode. That's okay. But so you guys have just left the invulnerable vagrant, and Zilbin. I gave him the name Zilbin, correct? I should write down my NPC.
Yes.
Zilbin was absolutely, utterly delighted to get his cupcake from Pumat's soul, and this is a fucking big cupcake, by the way, because Pumat's a big guy, and he handed Princess back to Ozla as soon as he got the chance to eat the cupcake, and so once his cupcake was done, which is in seconds, by the way, because this is a child with sweets, he kind of like licks his fingers, kind of wipes the rest of the frosting off his face, and is like, "Okay, so is everybody ready to go to the leaky tap?"
The leaky tap.
Aye, that's where I thought I'd take you next.
Nods glumly.
Are you okay, Miss Cat? Zilbin is gonna look at you and be like, "Are you okay, Miss Cat Lady?"
This cat lady. She kind of like dismissively waves a paw and says, "Yes, I'm fine."
Well, okay. Anyway, I'm going to show you where the best place to rest is for the night. And with that, he turns his heel and starts marching along. And once more, you guys are walking down the cobblestone streets of Zadash. And the deeper and deeper you get into the city, the nicer and nicer the buildings become. Not mansions or manors, but like they're nice, kind of like village style townhouses and all that. And eventually, you make your way to a tavern, and where the taverns in Pride's Call were very like big and bright things, this is a bit more humble as it looks. It's kind of constructed of a darker wood, and there's kind of a sign outside that looks like kind of like a keg barrel with alcohol kind of like leaking out of it under the words "the leaky tap," and basically Zilbin gives you a brief rundown of the history of the leaky tap. That it is run by a elf by the name of fucking please load for the love of God. It is run by one Claudia Sheed. Claudia Sheed, yes. Ooh. So, once again, picking up Princess and kind of holding it in one hand, he makes his way up to the steps and pulls the door open, kind of like bowing and graciously letting you guys in this kind of like performative, dramatic way that kids are known to do.
Aww. I walk in with my head down.
So as you make your way in, the interior isn't like incredibly brightly lit. There are a few windows that let natural sunlight in, and there might be a few torch sconces that add a bit more light. But it seems to be like kind of your standard tavern. There's kind of a bar area with tables and chairs set up all about. There are a few booths near to the side, and there seems to be kind of like an elevated sort of impromptu stage area where there are chairs and stools specifically for band members, but those seem to be empty at the time. In fact, the entire tavern seems to be somewhat empty right now. It is still a bit like early in the day, so there's not quite as many people drinking their woes away right now. But at the back of the room, kind of in front of the stairways that lead up to the rooms upstairs, there's the bar itself with the shelves of booze behind it, and standing behind the bar there is a very not gaunt but a thin-looking elf woman with brown hair and copper skin. She's very pretty, and she's kind of like wiping at a glass. And when she hears the door open, she says, "Well, I'm sorry, gentlemen, we're not quite open yet." Oh, you're the lot the captain said would be coming around. Is that it?
Led by a child. Great.
Yeah, our illustrious leader.
And Jim sort of slides in behind Gesh, hidden from sight.
No.
Claudia, she finishes wiping the cup and puts it down, and she kind of puts the rag into her apron, and she's like, "All right, well, if you want to settle your payment right now and start unpacking into your room, that's fine. The captain told me that you had a payment for the rooms for room and board."
Ozla like sort of like jerks her head and she goes, me, I've got it. And she like she pulls it out from wherever she's put it and sort of like hands it over, just like, they gave me this to give to you.
"Oh, thank you so much, dear. Thank you." And she takes the pouch and she's like, "I know we're not really open for business hours yet, but can I get anybody anything to drink, something to eat?"
Ozla slams her hands down and she's like, do you have any beer?
Oh, yes, we have beer plenty. We have artisanal brews. We have flavored brews. I think maybe we have a barrel of shimmer stout somewhere, but I'm not quite sure.
As soon as she hears shimmer sound, she slams both hands down. That one.
Okay, that's going to be 25 gold per glass, but I can roll it out right now if you want. If you don't like to take a seat, I'll head back to the bar and I'll bring you something in just a moment. And with that, Claudia takes the gold pouch and makes her way over to the counter. And who has the highest passive perception in the group? I believe it was either Fenkin or Nox.
Nox.
Mine's 15.
Yeah, I have 14, so Nox.
Okay, so as you guys make to kind of sit down at the table, the motley crew that you are, Nox.
Mm-hmm.
From kind of the railing, from in between the little bars and the railings on the stairs, something catches your eye, and you look up, and you see a little red figure kind of staring at you. And
A red figure.
Yes, and I will now post in general a picture of the person that you see.
Oh. I await.
Once I find the fucking file. There it is. This is...
Oh! Yes! I love this child!
So as you look up, Nox, you see a pair of yellow eyes kind of looking at you through the railing, and in clawed, kind of scaly-looking hands, you see clutched is kind of like this sort of rag doll that's been stitched together. Draconic horns curl back from the forehead, along with kind of like a stumpier horn in the front, and an almost cat-like mouth, kind of like yours. Doesn't really produce any emotion at all. No smiles or frowns or anything. He just seems to be kind of like sitting on one of the stairs, kind of like looking down at all of you.
Nox sees this figure, tilts her head, her ears kind of perk up a little bit in interest, and she'll kind of like nudge Ozla and nod over there and say, "Do you see that child looking at us?"
Ozla, from where she's like climbed onto the chair, she sort of like leans a bit higher and she's like, yeah.
As more eyes kind of like peer towards him, he kind of like shrinks back a little bit, kind of holding his doll tighter, and the red lizard tail that kind of like slinks through the bars of the railing kind of like draws back a bit.
She, Nox doesn't really say anything else, but she tilts her head and then, she'll, after a couple of seconds, she'll like raise a paw in like a little bit of a half wave.
As you do that, one scaled hand slowly lifts away, and there's kind of like a moment of very hesitant before it comes back to the doll.
Adorable.
And by this time, Claudia comes back. She's got kind of like a tray of not quite like a meal of any kind, but definitely a tray of like kind of hors d'oeuvres and snacky kind of stuff like you would serve, guests at your house. And she says, "All right, here's what I could scrounge together for now. If you want anything more, it is going to cost extra, but I can get you a menu if you'd prefer that."
Well, I ain't no dead bird in a forest.
Is that good or is that disappointment?
Was that in character?
I think Ozla will just wave her away for everyone. Like, we're fine.
Fenkin hides a little bit, turns away.
Nox, Gesh, do you guys say anything?
I'm sorry, what kind of food did you bring out? I missed that.
Basically, like slices of bread and cheese, maybe some little pieces of salami.
Cheese. Okay. That's the magic word I was looking for. Nox will. She's definitely like perked up by now. She seems to be over her glum disappointment from losing the necklace earlier, and she will kind of look around at the rest of the party and see that no one is like immediately moving to take the food. And then she'll just point at the cheese and say, "That is mine," and then sit down at the bar in front of it and take a slice to eat.
And Claudia turns to Gesh. "And is there anything I can get you, sir?"
Big boy.
He just shakes his head and he gets more comfortable in this suit.
She's like, "Okay, I'm sorry. You're a Dragonborn, yes?"
Yes.
There's kind of a moment of silence where she kind of like looks for something to say, and she's like, "No, sorry. It's just, never mind. My apologies." And as she turns away from the table, her eyes kind of, she looks like she's about to head back to the bar, but she sees the child kind of sitting at the top of the stairwell, and there's a moment where she just kind of pauses before she sighs, and she's like, "Kubo, sweetheart, where are your mittens?" And the kid, apparently named Kubo, kind of like looks down and away, and she takes a moment to sigh again. She's like, "Sweetheart, it's okay. I'm not angry. You just need to wear your mittens, okay?" And there's another pause before he sets his doll down on his lap and reaches into his robes, into his pockets, and pulls out a pair of little blue mittens and puts them on over his scales. Over his scaly hands.
You're really gonna do this to us? Oh my.
Is this a Frozen? Is he an Elsa?
What?
Is he an Elsa?
Never saw
Connor,
it.
you've told me about this boy.
Don't do that.
So once she sees that he has his mittens on, she seems to nod, and she turns back to you, putting kind of like another empty tray under her arm. She's like, I'm terribly sorry. I can send him to his room if you'd prefer."
Ozla goes, "Oh no, it's okay. What? Is he hungry?"
"Oh, he already had his lunch. If he was hungry, he would let me know." Again, sorry. He knows it's rude to stare, but he gets curious from time to time, as shy as he is.
Oh, don't worry, love. When we look what we look like, it's everyone stares at this rate. And can Ozla just like wave him and see if he wants to come over?
You can certainly wave. He'll probably not. Unless he gets like an invitation, he probably won't move. But as you wave, he once again with a mittened hand, he's like,
Don't worry, Dhuur'in has not looked at him. He's still pointedly hood pulled very, very low so that this
"Do not
woman
traumatize the child."
his face.
This episode is sponsored by children.
"This episode, children."
Trauma.
God, what was that TikTok I saw?
Oh, we love
last night?
trauma.
It was like VR, and somebody was like, "I smell untouched children."
Oh!
No idea what you're talking about.
Okay, never
Yeah, I
mind.
don't. What?
Truly no clue.
Again? Hey,
What were you saying, Gesh?
I wasn't trying to say anything,
Oh, okay.
really.
Alright. So, as you're all kind of like enjoying your appetizers, maybe kind of going over the paper menu that you've been given, every now and then when you look up, you see that Kubo has like descended a stair and is like slowly getting closer and closer until eventually he's at the very bottom of the stairwell, and you can kind of get like a better look of him as he's sitting at the bottom step clutching his doll. You can tell that he's like a tiefling, but not any kind of tiefling that you've seen before, especially since his mouth seems to be so cat-like, and his eyes, while they are like a predatory gold color, the pupils aren't like the same shape as like normal pupils are. In fact, they're kind of like hooked, almost like a cuttlefish of some kind. And as you eat and kind of like talk amongst yourselves, he just seems to be kind of like curiously watching you. And every now and then he reaches up with a mitten to kind of like rub his little black button nose.
I'm cry. Oh god.
Fenkin still glances at him every once in a while. Almost a bit like curious, but also trying not to mind his business too much. He seems to have a soft spot for children that look to be out of place.
Okay.
Damn it!
Sophie, you okay?
That was so sweet. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm okay.
Dhuur'in will hazard a glance at this boy and try really hard not to show him his scary glowing eyeballs.
Eventually, while he's staring at you guys tend to notice that he seems to be taking a great deal of interest in Gesh, who he's every time his eyes kind of like wander over to Gesh, they just kind of stay there for a second, and every now and then he'll like look over at Claudia to make sure she's not looking, and he'll like peel away his mittens so that he can see his scales, and then he'll look at Gesh's again. He'll look at Gesh again.
No.
Congratulations, Gesh, you're a dad.
That's your son.
Assigned dad.
And eventually, Claudia
Poor
does
Gesh.
come back. Claudia comes back with kind of like a notepad, and she says, "Okay, before I go upstairs to get your room ready, is there anything that anybody wants to order?"
Turns like
Dhuur'in order a fruity ale.
I will tell you this: what the captain gave you paid pretty much for all your food and lodging here. It's just like fancy stuff like Shimmer Stout costs more. Is going to be an extra cost on top of that. So like
Yeah, Dhuur'in's just gonna get a fruity ale paid for by the captain.
Okay.
Fenkin would like some sort of juice. Juice, por favor.
Milk.
2%.
Where did milk come from in this universe? Oh wait, we have cows.
Probably cows. Probably cows.
How did you forget the cow?
Oh yeah, sir.
I am high.
M.
I am high as a
Come
cat.
on.
M.
Yeah, I'm listening. Yes. Yes.
Did you fucking forget that cows exist?
I,
You rode with one for an entire episode.
I know, I remember that. I'm sorry, I'm high as a kite.
She is on morphine.
I'm on morphine. I'm a morphin.
Oh, Dhuur'in did order in Undercommon first.
So as you order an undercommon, there's kind of a moment where she's just like, "What?"
He pauses for a second and then corrects himself. He'll use the drink name, whatever the appropriate ale name is.
If you're looking for like a fruitier drink, there is the Zadashian pint.
Ooh, that sounds fancy.
Okay, Zadashian pint. Miss Highhill, you said you wanted shimmer stout, right?
Yeah, love.
Okay, one shimmer stout. Miss Knox, anything for you?
She has gotten through about 3 pieces of cheese by now and is hard at work on a 4th.
More cheese, maybe?
She looks like she was about to like not say anything, but then when she mentions the possibility of more cheese, she looks up with her mouth full and wordlessly nods.
Okay. All right, more cheese. We can do that. Anything else for anybody?
When the Fenkin orders, he sort of like hides his face and talks very silently, like, "Oh, juice."
Juice. Okay. She seems kind of taken aback for a second. She's like, "Okay, yeah, no problem. I can get you a juice. We have orange juice. We have apple juice.
Just take whatever.
And Fenkin, as soon as apple juice is mentioned, if anybody's watching the kid, you see his like long ears kind of like up a little bit.
Aww.
Fenkin sort of notices that a bit, and he's like, "Can I have 2 glasses of apple juice?"
She blinks and then like kind of looks back to see that you're looking at Kubo, and she's like, "Hi, absolutely, that's fine. Yes." And you sir, is there anything I can get you, Mr. Gesh?
Oh, I'll be fine. And then he just goes into his bag and gets out the cheese bread he didn't eat earlier. Just has that.
How old is that?
Oh my god, it's so stale!
Bangs on the table before he bites into it.
While the cheese has unfortunately solidified, so it's not like that good meltiness that you're used to. It's still good, it hasn't like expired or anything. So you do start eating that, and Claudia says, "All right, I'll get those right in. Just one. I'll be back in about 10 minutes." And she, as she walks away, you see that Kubo has finally stood up, and he seems to be walking over to the table, and this time his eyes are on Princess, who this entire time has also been like sitting on the table again, like Avery's cat would just like, kind of like a person would.
Just a big chubby boy.
Yeah, and he's got like a piece of cheese in his little goblin raccoon hand, just like. And eventually Kubo is like maybe 2 feet away from the table, and with one mitten he kind of like points at Princess and kind of cocks his head.
Alright, Sophie's gone.
Sophie died.
Look, it just destroyed me. I'm sorry. That's such a cute kid. Right. You gotta give me a moment. I'm reeling. When Ozla sees that he's pointing at Princess, she sort of just goes, yeah?
And Kubo kind of slowly nods his head, and finally you see his lips part, and in an impossibly quiet voice, you hear him ask a single question. Hold?
Stop! God!
What was that?
When she like
He said cold?
Hold.
Oh, hold. Okay, hold.
Oh,
Ozla, she like strains to hear it and then she goes, oh, and she sort of just like she takes like the cheese out of Princess's mouth and sort of like guides him down into her lap. And then she jumps off the chair with him in her arms, and she's probably the same height as Kubo. So she's just standing with him, and she says, "No pinching, okay?" And then just like holds him out to Kubo.
So as you took the cheese out of Princess's hand, he didn't seem to like notice. In fact, he's still like chewing on nothing as you push him forward until he's eventually like. And Kubo, when you say no pinching, he like nods and with one hand kind of like puts his doll on the ground and then slowly reaches his mittens out to pick up Princess, who seems totally unbothered by this entire predicament. And where Zilbin was like totally ecstatic and really like excited when he got to hold Princess, Kubo seems like much calmer and seems to be like studying Princess for a little bit before finally he kind of like wraps both arms around Princess so that Princess's head is kind of on his shoulders.
Aww.
And you see his yellow eyes close as he starts to kind of like swing back and forth very slowly. And eventually Claudia does come back with a tray of food, and when she spots Kubo, she says, "Oh God, I'm so sorry. Is he bothering you?"
God, no, love. He really likes animals, doesn't he?
He does. He really does.
How old is he?
He's about 5 years old.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Where does... If this is prying, I'm so sorry, but...
Oh, no. It's absolutely fine. And she sets the tray down on the table.
Are his parents gone?
She, at the mention of that, she kind of like bites her bottom lip and looks at Kubo, who seems still enthralled with kind of like holding Princess. And she says, "Well, why don't I put him to bed and then I'll answer any questions that you have." And with that, we are going to leave off today's game.
oh, okay.
Ta-da!
Oh my god.
Everybody have fun?
You're gonna be okay, Six.
6. Sophie,
I'm just destroyed by the image of that fucking child! So cute.
I have so much knowledge of this child.
I live in fear because I have no knowledge of this child. Same.
Vinn, you have knowledge of a version of this child.
Oh.
Don't say that.
Is this an alternate universe child?
Who knows?
AU's in there.
Child.
AUs and AUs, man.
Also, I have to say, this entire time your screen has been frozen on you, like with your hand over your head, so it looks like you've been like increasingly disappointed in me this entire time.
No, am I still frozen?
You're not for me.
Okay.
No,
So,
you can't.
we will meet back here again on Sunday next week. Everybody stay happy. Everybody stay healthy. Roll
I'll
well,
try.
sleep well, eat well, and have a wonderful day.
Bye, guys.